Hello students, today we are going to study the first chapter of the book Flamingo. This chapter deals with Franco-Prussian War, which was led by Bismarck, and deals with the importance of mother tongue. The narrator of the chapter is a small boy named Franz. Through this character, the author has tried to bring out the problems of not giving importance to the mother tongue. The small boy Franz in the beginning is not interested in learning the language just because he finds the grammar a bit difficult. But as soon as he is told that from the very next day he will not be able to learn his language, he becomes very sad. Mr. M. Hamel, the English, particularly the French teacher, he is proud of the French language, and on the very last day also he tries to tell the importance of French language, and through that the importance of mother tongue, how by practicing the mother tongue we can be in touch with not only our language but also our customs, culture, as well as our nation, because mother tongue correlates us to our motherland and keeps us intact. Let's read the chapter. Here in the video, I have tried my level best to give the explanation of each and every line, and ultimately the value points, short questions, and whatever is considered important in the chapter. The PDF of the chapter will be there on the screen, and I will be explaining the things one by one. Then we will finish up the content with important questions, important statements of the chapter, and the theme. So, let us begin the chapter. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright, the birds were chirping at the edge of the woods and in the open field back of the sawmill. The Persian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rules for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. In the very first paragraph, we can see that the student of Mr. M. Hamel, Franz, has not prepared the rules of participles which was given to him as a homework by the teacher. As a result, he is afraid of attending the class, and he was also getting late to school. There were so many things which were tempting him to bunk the class. Already he was not prepared with his homework on one hand, and on the other hand, the day was bright and beautiful with birds chirping at the edge of the woods and the Persian soldiers drilling. And according to friends, all these things were much more tempting than the rules of participles. But here we will see that the child is able to overcome the temptations and is ready to go to school, although he had not done the homework and he was also getting late to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news has come from there. The lost battles, the drafts, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Now when friends is going to the school, on the way he comes onto the road near the town hall where there was a bulletin board. Now on this bulletin board there was some information which was being read by many people. This information, whatever it was, friends knew it was not. As you can see, it is written that for the last 2 years, all the news that was written on the bulletin board was never in favor of the French people. So near about 2 years were over, and now they were having the negative impacts of losing the battle, because the Persians, they were changing the rules and regulations every now and then, which brought a lot of change in the social order. Friends was already getting late to school and he did not have the time to come and see or to stop there to notice as to what the matter was. Then as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin called after me, "Don't go so fast, bub, you'll get to your school in plenty of time." Now friends was already getting late. He was running to the school so that he could reach to the school in time. He saw the blacksmith who was standing there, and the blacksmith, when he saw him going very fast, he said not to go so fast because he has a lot of time. Now here French thinks that he was making fun of him. He had not read the bulletin board, but the blacksmith had. The blacksmith knew that from the very next day the language is going to change, and instead of French, German would be taught in the schools. But French, the student, was not aware of that, and that is the reason as to why he thinks that the blacksmith was making fun of him. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. Now here, when he reached the school, it was extraordinarily silent. Here there is a comparison made by friends between the usual days and the present day. All these differences has to be noted down and taken care of, because it will help you to analyze the changes that has been brought about in not only the school but the entire place. Usually when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. Now, here there are certain things which could be analyzed most probably only by a student, and that is one of the reasons as to why the author has selected Friends, the central character, as the narrator of the chapter. The condition of the classroom, where all of his friends were already sitting, it also describes about the mental condition of Franz. He knew that as soon as he is going to enter into the classroom, definitely he will be scolded by his teacher, who seemed to be very strict. Now, here the terrible iron ruler under his arm reflects the image of the teacher that the child holds in his mind. He was blushed and he was frightened. But surprisingly, you can see it's written, but nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on the beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt and little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Now, after inspecting the condition of the classroom, you can see the boy is trying to analyze the differences brought about inside the classroom. At present, he has described about the dress which his teacher was wearing. That was not a normal dress, it was a particular dress which he used to wear on important days. That was most probably surprising for him. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn, but the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves, old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several other besides. The back benches, which usually used to remain empty, were occupied by the old villagers. Now, this was a surprising thing for Friends. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edge, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. Everything and everyone, the things were still, and there was an extraordinary silence prevailing in the classroom. And that was surprising the small boy, the little boy. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair and, in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." Now here, whatever Mr. M. Hamel said was shocking and surprising for friends. For the first time, he comes to know that it was his last French lesson. Now here you can see that right in the beginning of the chapter he has not done his homework and he was frightened of even coming to school. At times we interpret that if a particular topic is not clear or if something is not good, then maybe the subject itself is disliked by the students. But here we can see that it was not so. Regardless of the fact that he did not like the grammar, he had a great liking for his language, because he was sad, shocked, and was dazed, surprised to hear what a thunderclap these words were to me. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put up at the town hall. Now he realizes as to why the blacksmith has said not to go so fast, because that was the very last day of the French lesson, and from the very next day obviously the new language may come off. My last French lesson, why, I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the Saar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his rules and how cranky he was. All about his ruler and how cranky he was. Now, here you can see that at the time of school, during the classes, particularly the class of language, many students they bunk, like friends here. He used to go in search of the eggs of the birds, sliding on the Saar, and the history of saints and other grammatical portion was not liked by him. But here the fact of detachment has suddenly created an attachment. The fact that from the very next day he will not be able to study his mother tongue makes him sad. Had he not liked his language, he would rather have been happy. But here you can see that there was an utter sadness, and as soon as he realizes that his teacher will also not be there, he becomes emotional and sympathetic towards him. Although the teacher was very strict, but he forgot all about it and became emotional for being detached from his subject as well as his teacher. Now we have some important quotes from this part of the chapter which we have completed just now. In this part, that is near about the first 2 pages, there are 3 quotes which you can use in the long answers and get good marks. First one, don't go so fast, bub, you'll get to your school in plenty of time. This statement was made by the blacksmith to friends when he was going to his language class. Second quote, what a thunderclap these words were to me. This statement was made by Franz in the class as a response to the statement made by Mr. M. Hamel that was the very last day when they are going to study French class. The shocking, surprising incident. My grammar and my history of saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. Now, as you all know, that right in the beginning of the chapter, Franz was not ready to go to school because he had not prepared the grammar. And this is a statement again made by Franz, where he says that my grammar and my history of saints are old friends now. So here he is not happy when he is getting away from his grammar or from the history. And he says that I couldn't give up. That shows his attachment, that shows his sadness. Now these types of statements, if they are used in long questions for 6 marks, and if you explain it properly, that brings quite good marks, because you will write the statement with relevance to your answer, and also the explanation, particularly 2-3 things should be taken care of, like who made the statement, when the statement was made, and in what context it has been said, to whom, who said, to whom, and when. These are the 2-3 things for important statements. Now we can also have short questions. Now these short questions may not be for the board preparation, but just to analyze what you have studied, like who was Franz, why was he reluctant to go to school, question number 1. Question number 2, what were the things which tempted Franz, how did he respond to it. Question number 3, what did Franz see in the town hall, what was his opinion about it. Next, what did the blacksmith say to him, what Franz thought about it, and what actually the blacksmith meant. Next, what were the unusual things noticed by friends in the school that day, or you can say how that particular day was different from other days in the school. Next question is the feeling of Franz, what he felt before entering the class and what he thought may happen. Did it happen so? Next, what surprised friends inside the classroom? Again, we can analyze that why was the students extraordinarily quiet. Now, that also comes in the usual and the unusual events of the class, or you can say usually what used to happen in the class, and on that particular day how the things were different. Next is what was the opinion of Franz, or how did he react when he realized that that day was the last day for him to learn the French language. The last question from this part may be, why according to you did the author choose a small boy like Franz as the narrator of the chapter? If you can answer all these questions with the relevance of what you studied, that means whatever you have studied is quite clear to you. I expect that these notes will be helpful to you, and definitely the rest of the part of the chapter we will be doing as soon as I will get a response about this, that is what I have taught you just now. Hello my dear students, just now we have finished the first part of the chapter, the last lesson. I hope the things are quite clear to you and you will be able to understand the chapter well. That is all for this video. In the next video, we will continue with the rest of the chapter. Thank you.